Penguin Random House Audio presents Still Me by Jojo Moyes. Read for you by Anna Acton.
Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Epictetus. Chapter 1. It was the moustache that reminded me I was no longer in England. A solid grey millipede firmly obscuring the man's upper lip. A village people moustache. A cowboy moustache. The miniature head of a broom that meant business. You just didn't get that kind of moustache at home. I couldn't tear my eyes from it. "Ma'am?" The only person I had ever seen with a moustache like that at home was Mr. Naylor, our maths teacher, and he collected digestive crumbs in his. We used to count them during algebra. "Ma'am." "Oh, sorry." The man in uniform motioned me forward with a flick of his stubby finger. He did not look up from his screen. I waited at the booth, long haul sweat drying gently into my dress. He held up his hand, waggling 4 fat fingers. This, I grasped after several seconds, was a demand for my passport. "Name." "It's there," I said. "Your name, ma'am?" "Louisa Elizabeth Clark." I peered over the counter, though I never used the Elizabeth bit, because my mum realised after they named me that would make me Lou Lizzie, and if you say that really fast it sounds like lunacy, though my dad says that's kind of fitting. Not that I'm a lunatic. I mean, you wouldn't want lunatics in your country. My voice bounced nervously off the plexiglass screen. The man looked at me for the first time. He had solid shoulders and a gaze that could pin you like a taser. He did not smile. He waited until my own faded. "Sorry," I said. "People in uniform make me nervous." I glanced behind me at the immigration hall, at the snaking queue that had doubled back on itself so many times it had become an impenetrable, restless sea of people. I think I'm feeling a bit odd from standing in that queue. That is honestly the longest queue I've ever stood in. I'd begun to wonder whether to start my Christmas list. "Put your hand on the scanner." "Is it always that size?" "The scanner," he frowned. "The queue." But he was no longer listening. He was studying something on his screen. I put my fingers on the little pad, and then my phone dinged. "Mum, have you landed?" I went to tap an answer with my free hand, but the man turned sharply towards me. "Ma'am, you're not permitted to use cell phones in this area." "It's just my mum. She wants to know if I'm here." I surreptitiously tried to press the thumbs-up emoji as I slid the phone out of view. "Reason for travel?" "What is that?" came Mum's immediate reply. She had taken to texting like a duck to water, and could now text faster than she could speak, which was basically warp speed. "You know my phone doesn't do the little pictures. Is that an SOS? Louisa, tell me you're okay." "Reasons for travel, ma'am." The moustache twitched with irritation. He added slowly, "What are you doing here in the United States?" "I have a new job." "Which is?" "I'm going to work for a family in New York, Central Park." Just briefly, the man's eyebrows might have raised a millimetre. He checked the address on my form, confirming it. "What kind of job?" "It's a bit complicated, but I'm sort of a paid companion." "A paid companion?" "It's like this. I used to work for this man. I was his companion, but I would also give him his meds and take him out and feed him. No, that's not as weird as it sounds, by the way. He had no use of his hands. And it wasn't like something pervy. Actually, in my last job, it ended up as more than that, because it's hard not to get close to the people you look after. And Will, the man, was amazing, and we fell in love. Too late. I felt the familiar welling of tears. I wiped my eyes briskly. "So I think it'll be a bit like that, except for the love bit. And the feeding." The immigration officer was staring at me. I tried to smile. Actually, I don't normally cry talking about jobs. I'm not an actual lunatic, despite my name. But I loved him. And he loved me. And then he chose to end his life. So this is sort of my attempt to start over. The tears were now leaking relentlessly, embarrassingly from the corners of my eyes. I couldn't seem to stop them. I couldn't seem to stop anything. Sorry, must be the jet lag. It's something like 2 o'clock in the morning in normal time, right? Plus, I don't really talk about him anymore. I mean, I have a new boyfriend and he's great. He's a paramedic. And hot. That's like winning the boyfriend lottery, right? A hot paramedic. I scrambled around in my handbag for a tissue. When I looked up, the man was holding out a box. I took one. Thank you. So anyway, my friend Nathan, he's from New Zealand, works here and he helped me get this job, and I don't really know what it involves yet, apart from looking after this rich man's wife who gets depressed. But I've decided this time I'm going to live up to what Will wanted for me, because I didn't get it right before. I just ended up working in an airport. I froze. Not, that there's anything wrong with working in an airport. I'm sure immigration is a very important job. Really important. But I have a plan. I'm going to do something new every week that I'm here, and I'm going to say yes. Say yes. To new things. Will always said I shut myself off from new experiences, so this is my plan. The officer studied my paperwork. You didn't fill the address section out properly. I need a zip code. He pushed the form towards me. I checked the number on the sheet that I had printed out and filled it in with trembling fingers. I glanced to my left, where the queue at my section was growing restive. At the front of the next queue, a Chinese family was being questioned by 2 officials. As the woman protested, they were led into a side room. I felt suddenly very alone. The immigration officer peered at the people waiting, and then, abruptly, he stamped my passport. "Good luck, Louisa Clark," he said. I stared at him. "That's it?" "That's it." I smiled. "Oh, thank you, that's really kind. I mean, it's quite weird being on the other side of the world by yourself for the first time, and now I feel a bit like I just met my first nice new person, and—" "You need to move along now, ma'am." "Of course, sorry." I gathered up my belongings and pushed a sweaty frond of hair from my face. "And ma'am?" "Yes?" I wondered what I had got wrong now. He didn't look up from his screen.
"Be careful what you say yes to."
Nathan was waiting in arrivals, as he had promised. I scanned the crowd, feeling oddly self-conscious, secretly convinced that nobody would come. But there he was, his huge hand waving above the shifting bodies around him. He raised his other arm, a smile breaking across his face, and pushed his way through to meet me, picking me up off my feet in a gigantic hug. "Lou!" At the sight of him, something in me constricted unexpectedly. Something linked to Will, and loss, and the raw emotion that comes from sitting on a slightly too bumpy flight for 7 hours. And I was glad that he was holding me tightly, so that I had a moment to compose myself. "Welcome to New York, shorty. Not lost your dress since, I see." Now he held me at arm's length, grinning. I straightened my 1970s tiger print dress. I had thought it might make me look like Jackie Kennedy the Onassis years, if Jackie Kennedy had spilled half her airline coffee on her lap. "It's so good to see you." He swept up my leaden suitcases like they were filled with feathers. "Come on, let's get you back to the house. The Prius is in for servicing, so Mr. G lent me his car. Traffic's terrible, but you'll get there in style." Mr. Gopnik's car was sleek and black and the size of a bus, and the doors closed with that emphatic, discreet thunk that signalled a 6-figure price tag. Nathan shut my cases into the boot, and I settled into the passenger seat with a sigh. I checked my phone, answered Mum's 14 texts with one that told her simply that I was in the car and I would call her tomorrow, then replied to Sam's, which told me he missed me, with landed, kiss, kiss, kiss. "How's the fella?" said Nathan, glancing at me. "He's good, thanks." I added a few more kiss, 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 kisses, just to make sure.
"I wasn't too sticky about you heading over here."
I shrugged. "He thought I needed to come. We all did. Just took you a while to find your way, is all." I put my phone away, sat back in my seat and gazed out at the unfamiliar names that dotted the highway. Milo's Tyre Shop, Richie's Gym, the ambulances and U-Haul trucks, the run-down houses with their peeling paint and wonky stoops, the basketball courts,